Hello everyone, this is Peter Rudder from VFE Pedals. In this spring update, I'm going to update you on 5 things, and almost all of them involve the new stereo Klein Bottle. The first thing is pretty simple. The final prototype is finished. Every feature is working, all the bugs have been ironed out, the locations of things, everything. So production has begun fully. In fact, I didn't just build one, I built 3 using the parts that I have on hand. But that's as many as I can build until I wait. So now, let's talk about where production stands. Here's what I have now. I have all of the knobs, I have all of the jacks, I have all of the pots, and I have about a quarter of the enclosures. I have all 303 of the filter PCBs that have the custom quad gain pots, and I've even put those pots in. I have all 250 of the standard version jacks PCBs, and I've put all the jacks in. I have ordered all of the components and paid for the assembly costs to assemble the other PCBs, the ones that hold most of the controls and the one that connect many of the circuit boards together and hold the pre-post and other switching elements within it. Those 2 circuit boards are the biggest single cost that I have. Over 20 grand spent just on those parts and assembly costs. I either have in my possession or have on order all but 1 part necessary to build and ship the Klein Bottle to you. That 1 part is a custom-made connector cable that I'm still finalizing the details on, but that's it. For the third thing I need to update you about is how tariffs are impacting me directly and the production of the Klein Bottle in specific. So this part's gonna be a little tough to say anything too declarative because everything's changing, and who knows, by the time I even post this video, it could be different. The first change is that I've actually ordered things more quickly than I anticipated to. For example, things like packaging materials, stickers, some of the other things that I was going to wait on in the production line, I need to order now, including I'm going to order enclosures as soon as I can, all of those things to avoid some of those higher tariff rates. But I've also canceled plans to place other orders, like ordering more colors of knobs, getting some customized packaging, those things that I just deemed as unnecessary expenses given the current environment with the unpredictability of tariffs. On the screen, you'll see a scroll of my parts list, a supplier list. It's super detailed. There's a PDF down at the bottom. The things that are in red are the things that are in process, and the things that are in black are basically ordered or already here. Because I was able to receive most of my shipments before the retaliatory tariffs were put in place, and because of the 90-day pause on most of the retaliatory tariffs, I will be able to get in all but 1 order for sure at a tariff rate of either 0 or 10% on most of my orders. But there is a 1 giant outlier, and that is the assembly shop that I've been using for all these circuit boards is PCBWay. And when the tariffs were announced, not only was I already working with them, they had a bunch of parts for this current order that I was in the process of finalizing, and a bunch of other parts were on the way, and we're talking total of 10 grand or such before I learned that it's 145% tariff. So I can't just on a dime choose some other vendor. This means if things don't change, I'm caught potentially facing a tariff bill of $25,000, $30,000. I simply can't pay that. In fact, if things don't change, it would increase the cost per Klein Bottle based on what I had budgeted back last summer by $100 per pedal. And I'm manufacturing 330, 340 of these. My first step was to ask PCBWay, before I finalized the last details of the last payment, is if they could hold the shipment while this tariff situation is in flux. And they said that they would. Some of the mitigations that I could do potentially to keep myself on track for production are asking PCBWay to do partial shipments, so to ship out a little bit at a time as I'm manufacturing, so that bill isn't one giant bill, but it's smaller ones. This would also lead to increased pricing, not only on the Klein Bottle and the orders on the website, but also existing stock that's already made and listed on Reverb, just because I don't want to charge it all onto the Klein Bottle. I need to spread that around across the whole business. The last and most desperate move to mitigate all these tariff costs would be to run a Kickstarter campaign. I ran an Indiegogo campaign because I couldn't afford to build such a prototype with all the custom parts that had to go into it. So I raised funds not only to manufacture it, but to even make the prototype in the first place. You came through on that, and so I was able to do this. And so I could run a Kickstarter because I have a functional prototype. Not only that, it's like in manufacturing right now. And so the wait times wouldn't be super long. And I'm holding off on making any decisions to raise prices or do any of these other mitigation efforts until I see how things are playing out. It'll be another 4 to 6 weeks until the assembly shop finishes with the circuit boards I have ordered. And so who knows what it will be like in that time. There's one other way where tariffs have impacted this production schedule. I had initially planned to have all the pots and switches and all of those things soldered into the circuit board before I received it, so that my final assembly would be much quicker, much more efficient. But when the uncertainty of tariffs became clear to me, I had to shift where things were getting shipped in order to get them here with me before tariffs came to be. And if I had waited, I could be staring down a $60,000+ tariff bill. I made that decision knowing that it would create extra work for me and make it slower to build the Klein bottles, but it would save the investment cost because I only have so much I can invest as an individual sole proprietor and teacher. Okay, enough of the hard news. Now let's get to the awesome news. I'm going to give away this Klein bottle. This is the first one that is the final specs all the way around. It's fully functioned. Every function is working. It's in a really cool, it's hard to see on the video, it's kind of got a sparkle flake red finish and some cool knobs to boot. And then I even, just to make this one extra special, these foot switches, they're not even really, they're mostly made for hand pressing, but you can also use them underfoot. These switches are super expensive. I can't use them in a production model. It would increase my costs $50 extra just to, in parts, just to do these switches. But I can do it on this one just for the giveaway. I've tested this one the most thoroughly, set it up. It's the very first one. You would get it sooner than any other one. I would ship this out before any of the others. And so how you enter is pretty simple. I'm only going to make one way to enter, and that is to subscribe to the newsletter on the website. And here's why I've made only one way this time. Oftentimes I make multiple ways. Only one way this time is because I'm going to use the newsletter as my primary communication tool about what I'm up to. I am terrible at posting to social media and keeping up with things that the algorithm needs to feed that communication to the people who are interested, even the people who follow me. And so I want to have some direct control over making sure that you receive what's happening and what I'm up to. And so I want to run that through the newsletter. Here's the last part of the video, the fifth thing, is about the future of VFE Pedals. I've had so many times where I've been like, here's what is happening next, and then been wrong. I tried to close down the business, and in effort to do so, I redesigned the pedals to make it easier to license them. And then what happened is that the main licensing partnership that I thought was in process completely fell through, and the other ones didn't grow into anything. And so I was sitting on a bunch of designs that worked great, sounded great, people wanted, but no one was willing to do the building or distribution of them, and we needed some money, and so I started building again. So and there's other situations where I thought this or I thought that, and so I'm tired of trying to predict, especially now with the tariff situation being unstable and all of those things. I don't know what is after the Klein Bottle. I just don't. I have thoughts, I have ideas. I, of course, have a million pedal ideas that I haven't done because I've been teaching. So it's not for a lack of ideas or want to. It's just I need to make sure that this serves the needs of my students and my family. Much of what this does is fund the program that I teach and all the opportunities that I can provide that way. And also, like, it supports me and my family as well. The good news is I don't rely on that anymore. And so I'm not as like burdened to make sure I get the sales and all that sort of stuff. I can flex that around my schedule. But after the Klein Bottle, what's next? I don't know. But the Klein Bottle might be the thing I'm doing for the next year till the end of next summer, because it's going to take a while to manufacture 330, 340 of these. It's going to take a while to sell that many because they're a higher price item, and especially if we go into recession, like, sales aren't going to be extremely robust for higher priced items like this. So I just don't know. I don't know what's coming. I do know that your support has helped me get through many things and to have opportunities to do many other amazing things. And so I just thank you for watching this super long update video. And I hope that you'll consider subscribing to the newsletter. Link is below. Thanks.
Okay, I finished making that video yesterday and I was about to post it and just didn't have time. And today, the very next day, I finally got the tariff bill from the potentiometers. Actually, when I placed the order from a company, Taiwan Alpha, in the name Taiwan, I didn't know that there were any tariffs on it at all. And then, of course, their manufacturing facility is in Hong Kong, which is being tariffed like it's in mainland China, which means that there's a 25% tariff on those potentiometers that was placed back in 2018, and a 20% tariff that was placed on all Chinese goods this year. And then it came in just after the April 5th 10% additional tariffs on every country, on nearly every country in the world. So it's a 55% tariff. So that's over $4,000 just on the potentiometers. It increases the cost of them by a lot. And so I am going to have to raise prices. I said I wouldn't raise prices unless, things start happening. And so this will cause a $20 raise in price just to try to break even, get close to it. And some of the other tariff costs that I've paid have been low enough that I'll just eat those costs. But I can't just eat $4,000. So effective as right now, the price on the website's gone up $20. That's what I gotta do. All right, thanks.